The blood froze before it hit the snow. Sarah Morrison's bare feet left crimson prints across the porch, then nothing. The blizzard swallowed everything. Sound, sight, the line between earth and sky. She ran anyway, because staying meant dying. Behind her, glass shattered. Robert's voice cut through the wind, slurred with whiskey and rage. "Sarah, get back here." She didn't look back. Looking back had never saved her before. The farmhouse lights disappeared within seconds. Montana's winter showed no mercy, and tonight the Weather Service had called it a death sentence. Winds at 60 miles per hour, visibility 0, temperatures 20 below. Sarah wore a torn nightgown and Robert's boots 3 sizes too large. She grabbed him by the door during those precious seconds while he'd searched for his keys. He was coming. She heard the truck engine roar to life. Her ribs screamed with each breath. 2 were cracked, maybe broken. She knew the feeling. Robert had broken them before 14 months ago, then driven her to a clinic 2 towns over where nobody asked questions. This time felt worse. This time he smiled while he did it. The snow reached her knees. Every step took forever. Wind-driven ice crystals shredded her face like broken glass. She couldn't feel her feet anymore. Couldn't feel her hands. The cold was almost a blessing. It numbed the pain radiating from her ribs, her split lip, the place where his boot had connected with her kidney. Headlights pierced the white curtain behind her. Sarah sobbed and pushed forward. The truck couldn't follow through the deep drifts between the road and the tree line, but Robert would come on foot. He always came. 5 years of marriage had taught her that Robert Morrison always finished what he started. She needed the trees. If she reached the forest, maybe she could hide. Maybe the storm would cover her tracks. Maybe she'd freeze to death before he found her, and even that would be better than going back. The lights grew brighter. She heard his voice again, closer now, howling her name like a curse. She fell face first into a drift, and the cold became everything. She tried to stand, but her body wouldn't obey. Her vision blurred. The white around her started looking gray. This was it then. She'd die free. That counted for something. Through the storm, a different sound reached her. The crunch of footsteps in snow, steady and sure. Strong hands lifted her. A man's voice, deep and calm, spoke words she didn't understand. She tried to open her eyes but couldn't. Behind them, Robert screamed her name one final time, then everything went dark, and Sarah Morrison disappeared into the blizzard. Her eyes opened slowly, focusing on rough wooden beams overhead. Firelight danced across unfamiliar walls. She tried to sit up and gasp. Pain exploded through her ribs like lightning. "Don't move yet," a woman's voice, gentle but firm. "You're safe now." Sarah turned her head. An older native woman sat beside the bed, her silver-streaked black hair pulled back in a braid. Deep lines framed kind eyes that had seen too much suffering to judge anyone else's. "Where am I?" Sarah's voice came out as a whisper. "My brother's cabin, on the reservation." The woman wrung out a cloth in a basin of warm water. "I'm Mary Broken Arrow. James found you in the storm last night. You were half frozen, covered in blood." Memory crashed back. The beating. Robert's fist, running into the blizzard. Sarah's hand flew to her face, feeling the swelling around her left eye, the split in her lip. "My husband isn't here." Mary's voice hardened. "And won't be if James has anything to say about it." Sarah looked around the small cabin. Simple furniture, Lakota artwork on the walls, a wood stove radiating heat. Through the window, she saw endless white. The storm had continued through the night. "I need to go." Sarah tried to sit up again despite the pain. "When Robert finds out I'm here, he'll come. He's a deputy sheriff. He'll do nothing on sovereign land without permission." A man's voice came from the doorway. Sarah's breath caught. The man who entered was tall and broad-shouldered, perhaps 40, with long black hair and a face carved from stone. But his eyes held something unexpected. A deep weariness mixed with unwavering strength. "This is James," Mary said. "He carried you 3 miles through the blizzard." James Broken Arrow moved to the fire, adding wood without looking at Sarah. "You were running from him." It wasn't a question. Sarah pulled the blanket tighter around herself. 5 years of hiding the truth made honesty feel dangerous, but these people had saved her life. Yes, How long? James asked. 5 years, since we got married. The words tumbled out before she could stop them. It started small, grabbing my arm too hard, pushing me during arguments. Then it got worse. He'd say he was sorry, that he changed. I believed him. I was so stupid. You weren't stupid, Mary interrupted. You were trapped. Sarah's eyes burned with tears she'd been holding back for hours. Last night I told him I wanted to leave. Her voice broke. He said he'd kill me before he let me go, and I knew he meant it. James finally looked at her. His gaze was steady, measuring. Your husband reported you missing this morning. Claims you wandered into the storm confused. Cold dread filled Sarah's stomach. Of course he did. Robert's good at making people believe him. Everyone in town thinks he's a hero. Deputy Morrison, always helping people, always smiling. Her laugh was bitter. They don't see what he's like behind closed doors. I've met men like him, James said quietly. They wear their cruelty in private. Mary stood and moved to a small cabinet. I cleaned your wounds while you slept. You have 2 cracked ribs, extensive bruising, and signs of older injuries. Burns on your arms that didn't come from any accident. Cigarettes, Sarah whispered, when he was really angry. The silence that followed felt heavy. James's jaw tightened, but his voice remained calm. You need rest, time to heal. You're safe here. You don't understand. Sarah's voice rose with panic. Robert won't let this go. He'll come here. He'll use his badge, the law, whatever it takes. And when people find out you're hiding his wife, a white woman, on the reservation, she saw understanding in their faces. It'll cause trouble you don't need. James crossed his arms. Let me worry about that. Why are you helping me? Sarah asked. You don't know me. This could destroy everything for you. My grandmother died running from men who thought they owned her, James said. I was taught that when someone needs help, you give it. The color of your skin doesn't change that. Your husband's badge doesn't change it either. Mary brought Sarah a bowl of soup. Eat, you need your strength. As Sarah took the bowl with shaking hands, James moved toward the door. The storm will keep everyone away for today, maybe tomorrow, but after that, your husband will come. We need to be ready. What will you do? Sarah asked. James looked back at her, and she saw something fierce in his expression. Whatever it takes to keep you safe. The Reservation Council won't surrender you without your consent. Our sovereignty means something, even if the town doesn't want to acknowledge it. After he left, Mary sat down again. My brother is a good man, stubborn as hell, but good. He won't back down from this. That's what I'm afraid of, Sarah said softly. Outside, the blizzard continued to rage, buying them time they desperately needed. But Sarah knew Robert. She knew his pride, his rage, his absolute refusal to accept defeat. The storm would end eventually, and when it did, hell would follow. The storm broke on the 3rd day. Robert Morrison stood on the steps of the county sheriff's office, his face a mask of concern that had taken years to perfect. Around him, 24 volunteers gathered. Ranchers, store owners, other deputies, all of them ready to search for his poor, confused wife. Sarah's not well, he told them, his voice breaking at just the right moment. She's been having episodes, seeing things that aren't there. The doctor said it might be stress, maybe something worse. He wiped his eyes. That night, we had an argument about her medication. She got upset and ran out into the storm before I could stop her. Sheriff Coleman, a gray-haired man who'd known Robert since he was a boy, squeezed his shoulder. We'll find her, son. Don't you worry. Robert nodded, grateful. Inside, he was calculating. 3 days was enough time for exposure to finish what he started. But if Sarah had somehow found shelter, there was only one place she could be: the reservation. I appreciate everyone coming out, Robert continued. I've been searching day and night, but I need help covering more ground. Especially, he paused as if the words pained him, especially the areas near the reservation border. Sarah sometimes talked about the old medicine woman who lived out there. If she was confused, she might have wandered that direction. He saw the knowing looks exchanged between the men. Everyone knew about the tensions between the town and the reservation. Old wounds that never quite healed. Now, Robert, Sheriff Coleman said carefully, if she did make it to the reservation, we can't just barge in there, tribal sovereignty and all that legal business. I know, sir. Robert's voice took on a harder edge. But if they're harboring her, keeping her from getting medical attention she desperately needs, isn't that a crime? My wife could be dying while they play politics. On the reservation, James watched the town through binoculars from a ridge overlooking the valley. They're organizing, he told Thomas Running Bear, the tribal council chairman who stood beside him. 20, maybe 30 men. Morrison's putting on quite a show. Thomas was 65 with a weathered face that has seen the government break every promise they'd ever made to his people. The wife is still healing? Yes. Mary says her ribs will take weeks. But it's not just the physical injuries. James lowered the binoculars. She barely sleeps. Every sound makes her jump. Yesterday a door slammed and she hid in the corner, shaking. You believe her story? I've seen the scars, cigarette burns, old fractures that healed wrong. A woman doesn't do that to herself. James's voice was ice. And I saw Morrison's face that night in the storm. He wasn't searching for a confused wife. He was hunting. Thomas sighed. The council met this morning. Half of them want you to hand her over. They're afraid of what this will cost us. And the other half? Remember when you were 12 and the government tried to take the children to that boarding school? Your father stood in front of the bus and said they'd have to go through him first. Thomas smiled grimly. Some of us still have spines. Back at the cabin, Sarah sat with Mary, finally ready to tell the whole truth. The first time he hit me was 6 months after our wedding. Sarah began, her voice steady despite the tears on her cheeks. I'd burned dinner. He backhanded me so hard I saw stars. Then he cried and apologized and bought me flowers. I thought it was a one-time thing. Mary said nothing, just listen. It became a pattern. He'd explode, hurt me, then act like the perfect husband for weeks. I told myself I could fix it, that I could be better, that if I just didn't make him angry. She laughed bitterly, but everything made him angry eventually. The way I dressed, the way I talked, friends I had before we married. He isolated me from everyone. Did you try to leave before? Mary asked gently. Once, 2 years ago. I made it to my sister's house in Wyoming. Robert showed up 3 days later with flowers and tears, told her I was having a breakdown, that he was so worried about me. She believed him. Everyone always believes him. Sarah's hands clenched into fists. He beat me so badly that night I couldn't walk for a week. Told me if I ever tried to leave again, he'd make sure I never walked again at all. What about the miscarriage? Sarah's face crumpled. I was pregnant. 4 months. I was terrified to tell him, but I thought maybe a baby would change things. When I finally told him, he said he didn't want children with me. Said I'd be a terrible mother. Her voice dropped to a whisper. He kicked me in the stomach. Over and over. I lost the baby that night. Mary's eyes glistened with tears, but her voice remained strong. That man is a monster. He's a monster who wears a badge, Sarah said, and he's coming. I know he is. As if summoning him with her words, they heard vehicles approaching. James burst through the door. Morrison's here. He's got Sheriff Coleman and half the town with him. Sarah went pale. He'll take me back, not without your consent. James's voice was iron. This is sovereign land. You're under our protection. You don't understand what he's capable of. Then it's time he learned what we're capable of. Outside, engines rumbled to a stop. Door slammed. Voices carried on the cold air. You have a choice to make. You can stay silent and let us handle this. Or you can face him, tell the truth in front of witnesses. Sarah's hands trembled, but something in her eyes had changed. 3 days of safety, of being believed, of being treated like a human being instead of property. It had awakened something she thought Robert had killed. I'll face him, she said. Then let's go. They stepped out into the cold morning light where Robert Morrison waited with the law behind him and murder in his eyes. 27 men stood in a semicircle outside James's cabin. Robert Morrison at the center, Sheriff Coleman to his right, and volunteers spreading out on either side. Behind James, tribal members had gathered, men and women who had heard the commotion and come running. Robert's eyes locked onto Sarah, and she saw his mask slip for just a fraction of a second. Pure rage flashed across his face before the concerned husband returned. Sarah thanked God. He took a step forward. Baby, we've been so worried. Come on, let's get you home and warm. Sarah's voice came out stronger than she expected. I'm not going anywhere with you. Robert's smile tightened. Honey, you're not thinking clearly. You've been out in the cold, you're confused. I'm not confused. Sarah stepped closer to James, drawing strength from his presence. I know exactly what I'm doing. I left because you beat me, because you've been beating me for 5 years. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Robert's face flushed. Sheriff Coleman, Robert said, his voice shaking with what sounded like emotion. You can see she's not well. These people have filled her head with lies. These people saved my life, Sarah interrupted. You left me to die in that blizzard, Robert. You chased me into the storm knowing I wouldn't survive. That's not true. Robert's voice rose. I was trying to find you, to bring you back safely. Show them, Mary said quietly from the cabin doorway. Sarah hesitated, then slowly unbuttoned her coat. Underneath, she wore a borrowed shirt. She lifted it, revealing the mottled purple and black bruises covering her ribs and stomach. The crowd went silent. These are from 3 nights ago, Sarah said, when I told my husband I wanted the divorce. She turned, showing her back. More bruises, some yellowing with age. Then she pushed up her sleeves, revealing the circular scars on the forearms. Cigarette burns, she said flatly. From the times I made him really angry. Sheriff Coleman's face had gone pale. Robert? She's lying. Robert's composure cracked. She hurt herself to frame me. She's been unstable for months. Ask anyone in town. Ask Dr. Rich Hendricks about her medication. I'm not on medication, Sarah said. Robert told Dr. Hendricks I was, but he never let me see a doctor alone. Never let me see anyone alone. Thomas Running Bear stepped forward, his voice carrying authority. This woman came to us seeking sanctuary from domestic violence. Under tribal law and our treaty rights, we're obligated to protect her. She's made clear she doesn't wish to return with her husband. With all due respect, Sheriff Coleman said carefully, this is still a domestic matter between a husband and wife. We need to sort this out properly, through the courts. The courts? James's laugh was harsh. You mean the same judge who plays poker with Morrison every Thursday? The same system that's ignored complaints about him for years? What complaints? Sheriff Coleman demanded. Ask her about the time Robert grabbed her wrist so hard it left bruises when she forgot his coffee order. Ask Tom Wheeler about Robert threatening his son for looking at me wrong. Ask. Those are lies. Robert lunged forward. 3 tribal members immediately blocked his path. The volunteers behind Robert tensed, hands moving toward weapons. James's people did the same. Everyone calmed down. Sheriff Coleman ordered, but his voice lacked conviction. He looked at Sarah, really looked at her, and something in his face changed. Mrs. Morrison, are you saying you don't want to return home? I'm saying if you make me go back with him, I'll be dead within a week. Robert's mask shattered completely. You ungrateful. He caught himself, but everyone had seen it. The rage, the barely controlled violence. Sheriff Coleman held up a hand. Robert, I think you need to step back. She's my wife. She's a human being, James said quietly. And she's staying here until she decides otherwise. You can't keep her, Robert snarled. I'll get a court order. I'll bring the FBI if I have to. This is kidnapping. It's sanctuary, Thomas corrected. We're not holding her against her will. She's free to leave whenever she chooses. The standoff stretched, tension thick enough to choke on. Finally, Sheriff Coleman spoke. Mrs. Morrison, I need to hear from you directly. Do you feel you're in danger from your husband? Sarah met Robert's eyes. She saw the promise there, that if he got her alone, ever again, she'd pay for this humiliation with her life. Yes, she said clearly. I'm terrified of him. He's beaten me, burned me, caused a miscarriage by kicking me in the stomach. If I go back, he'll kill me. Robert's face went white, then red. You lying. Sheriff Coleman grabbed his arm. That's enough, Robert. We're leaving. Now, she's lying. She's deaf. Maybe she isn't. But until we sort this out, you're not touching her. The sheriff looked at James. How long are you willing to keep her? as long as she needs. This isn't over, Robert hissed, staring at Sarah. You're mine. You'll always be mine. Get in the truck, Deputy Morrison, Sheriff Coleman ordered. That's not a request. The crowd began to disperse, volunteers muttering among themselves. Robert allowed himself to be led away, but his eyes never left Sarah. The promise in them was clear. This was just the beginning. As the trucks drove away, Sarah's legs gave out. James caught her before she fell. You were brave, he said. I'm terrified, she whispered. I know, but you stood up to him. That's the first step. That night, someone fired 3 shots into the cabin. They all missed, but the message was clear. Robert Morrison was coming back, and next time he wouldn't ask permission. Judge Harold Winters signed the order without looking up from his paperwork. Temporary custody for psychiatric evaluation, he said, sliding the document across his desk. Based on Deputy Morrison's sworn statement that his wife poses a danger to herself and others due to mental instability. Robert took the paper with steady hands, though inside he was burning. 3 days since that humiliation at the reservation. 3 days of whispers in town, of people looking at him differently, of Sheriff Coleman watching him like he was a suspect instead of a colleague. The tribal council will fight this, the judge warned. Let them. Federal law supersedes tribal sovereignty in cases involving mental health emergencies. Robert folded the order carefully. I'm just trying to get my sick wife the help she needs. But Judge Winters saw what others missed. He'd known Robert since the boy was 10. Known his father too, a mean drunk who'd beaten his wife until she disappeared one night, never to be found. Don't make me regret this, Robert. Robert smiled. You won't. By noon, Robert was back at the reservation with a different crowd. Sheriff Coleman reluctantly accompanied him, along with 2 FBI agents from Billings. The federal presence changed everything. Agent Hayes, a thin man with wide-rimmed glasses, read from a document as tribal members gathered. Under Title 18, Section 1153 of the U.S. Code, federal authorities have jurisdiction over major crimes on Indian land. Deputy Morrison has obtained a court order for his wife's psychiatric evaluation based on credible evidence of mental instability and self-harm. That's a lie, James said flatly. He stood at the front of a line of 30 tribal members, all positioned to block the path to his cabin. The court disagrees, Agent Hayes replied. We're not here for a confrontation. We're here to execute a legal order. Thomas Running Bear stepped forward, carrying his own stack of papers. We have affidavits from Mrs. Morrison describing 5 years of systematic abuse. We have medical documentation of her injuries. We have witness statements, which can all be presented at the evaluation, Agent Hayes interrupted. But right now, we have a court order, and we will enforce it. Sarah watched from the cabin window, her hands shaking. Mary stood beside her. They can't do this, Sarah whispered. It's the same thing Robert always does, using the law to control me. James won't let them take you. James can't stop the FBI. Outside, the standoff intensified. More tribal members arrived, creating a human barrier 3 rows deep. Women, men, elders, all standing together. Robert pushed forward, holding up the court order. This is legal. You're interfering with the federal mandate. This is our land, James replied, and she's under our protection. She's not yours to protect, Robert's voice rose. She's my wife. She's a person who asked for sanctuary from violence. Agent Hayes stepped between them. Chief Broken Arrow, I understand your position, but we will execute this order. You can either stand aside or we'll arrest everyone blocking our path. That's not a threat. It's the law. James didn't move. Behind him, neither did anyone else. Sheriff Coleman pulled James aside, lowering his voice. I've been doing some checking. Talked to people in town. That diner waitress confirmed Morrison grabbed her. The Wheeler boy confirmed the threats. I'm starting to think Mrs. Morrison might be telling the truth. Starting to think? James's voice was ice. But that doesn't change the fact that they have a legal order. If you don't stand down, they'll arrest everyone here. Is that what you want? Your people in federal custody? He saw her fear, her resignation. She'd lived this pattern before. Men with authority backing Robert, the law twisted to serve his purposes. But he also saw something else, a spark of defiance that hadn't been there before. Sarah made a decision. She opened the cabin door and stepped out. Don't, James said. I won't let you all be arrested because of me. Sarah walked toward the agents, her head high despite her terror. I'll go. I'll do the evaluation. Robert's smile was triumphant. That's my girl, making the smart choice. But I want witnesses, Sarah continued, her voice steady. I want Mary Broken Arrow present during all examinations. I want my statement on record that I'm going under duress, that I fear for my life in my husband's custody. That's not how this works, Robert began. Actually, Agent Hayes interrupted, studying Sarah's bruises. Given the serious allegations, having a witness present isn't unreasonable. We can arrange that. Robert's smile vanished. She doesn't need a babysitter. It's not negotiable, Deputy Morrison, Hayes said, and something in his tone suggested he'd seen enough to have questions of his own. As Sarah stepped forward, James moved beside her. I'm coming too. You're not family, Robert snarled. I'm her advocate. Under tribal law, she has that right. The agents conferred quietly, then nodded. Robert's face went purple with rage, but he couldn't object without exposing his true intentions. As they walked toward the vehicles, James leaned close to Sarah. Don't be alone with him. Not for a second. I won't, she promised. But as Robert opened the truck door for her, his hand gripped her arm. Not hard enough to bruise where others could see, but hard enough to hurt. He leaned in, his breath hot against her ear. When this is over, he whispered, when there are no witnesses and no one to protect you, I'm going to make you suffer for this. Every single humiliation, every lie you told, I'll take it out of your skin. Sarah's blood turned to ice. The truck door slammed shut, and they drove away from the reservation, leaving James and the others standing helpless in the cold. The breaking point had come, and Sarah knew that whatever happened next would determine whether she lived or died. The psychiatric evaluation lasted 4 hours at County General Hospital. Dr. Patricia Chin, brought in from Billings, conducted the interview with Mary and Agent Hayes present. Robert paced the hallway outside, his fury barely contained. When it ended, Dr. Chin's report was unequivocal. Mrs. Morrison shows no signs of mental instability, delusion, or self-harm tendencies, she told Agent Hayes in the corridor. However, she exhibits clear symptoms of long-term trauma consistent with sustained domestic abuse. The injuries are documented. Multiple healing fractures, burn scars, psychological distress. Support her allegations completely. Robert's face went white. That's impossible. She's manipulating you. Deputy Morrison, I've been doing this for 20 years. I know the difference between manipulation and trauma. Doctor, Chin's voice was still. Your wife needs protection, not psychiatric confinement. The court order is based on false pretenses. I'm recommending it be vacated immediately. Agent Hayes studied Robert with new eyes. Deputy, I think we need to have a conversation downtown. That's when Robert snapped. He shoved past Dr. Chin and burst into the examination room where Sarah sat with Mary. Before anyone could react, he grabbed Sarah by her hair and dragged her toward the emergency exit. You're mine, he roared. You'll always be mine, Sarah screamed. Mary lunged at Robert, but he backhanded her aside. Agent Hayes reached for his weapon, shouting for backup. Robert crashed through the exit door, pulling Sarah into the parking lot. The afternoon sky had darkened, another storm rolling in, heavy clouds pregnant with snow. Robert stopped. Sheriff Coleman appeared from around the building, weapon drawn. Let her go. She's my wife. Robert's arm locked around Sarah's throat. Nobody takes what's mine. James's truck screeched into the parking lot. He'd been waiting, refusing to leave while Sarah was in danger. Now he jumped out, seeing Sarah struggling in Robert's grip. Let her go, Morrison. Stay back. Robert dragged Sarah toward his patrol car. All of you, stay back or I'll... Sarah's elbow drove backward into his ribs, the move Mary had taught her that morning. Robert's grip loosened for just a second. Sarah twisted free and ran. Robert's face contorted with rage. He drew his service weapon. If I can't have you, nobody will. Time slowed. Sheriff Coleman shouted. Agent Hayes raised his weapon. James sprinted toward Sarah. The gun roared. But Sarah had already thrown herself behind a parked car. The bullet shattered a window instead. Robert fired again, then again, all pretense of the concerned husband gone. This was pure, murderous rage. James reached Sarah and covered her body with his own as bullets sparked off metal around them. "Stay down," he commanded. "Robert Morrison, drop your weapon." Sheriff Coleman's voice cracked like thunder. "Drop it now." Robert turned the gun toward Coleman instead. "You're all against me. You believe her lies, you..." A shot rang out. Robert staggered, looking down at the red bloom spreading across his shoulder. Agent Hayes had fired, his aim precise. Robert's gun clattered to the pavement. "It's over," Hayes said. "It's over." But Robert lunged for the weapon with his good arm. Sheriff Coleman kicked it away and wrestled Robert to the ground, years of restraint finally breaking. "You son of a pry, I trusted you. We all trusted you." Robert fought like a wild animal, screaming obscenities, threats, promises of vengeance. It took 3 men to restrain him. As they dragged Robert away, still raving, Sarah collapsed against James. She was shaking so hard her teeth chattered. "It's over," James said softly, echoing Hayes. "It's really over. He'll come back. He always comes back. No." James lifted her face gently. "Look at me. He's going away for a long time. Assault with a deadly weapon, attempted murder, abuse of authority. They'll bury him in charges." Sheriff Coleman approached, his face haggard. "Mrs. Morrison, I owe you an apology. I should have seen it sooner. Should have listened when people tried to tell me." Sarah's voice was barely audible. "People tried. Over the years. Little comments, concerns. I dismissed them. Thought Robert was a good man because I wanted to think so." Coleman's voice broke. "I'm sorry." The first snowflakes began to fall as they loaded Robert into an ambulance under guard. He was still screaming Sarah's name, still making threats. But the words had no power anymore. Dr. Shok Chen brought Sarah a blanket. "I'm recommended trauma counseling. The hospital has resources. I want to go back to the reservation," Sarah interrupted. "If they'll have me." James's hand found hers. "For as long as you want. There's a lot of healing to do, but you're safe now. You're free." Mary appeared, her cheek bruised but her eyes fierce. "We take care of our own, and you're one of us now." 3 months later, Sarah stood in the courthouse wearing borrowed clothes, watching the judge sentence Robert Morrison to 18 years in federal prison. The list of charges filled 2 pages. Women from town testified, the waitress, a store clerk, others who'd been too afraid to speak before. Sarah's courage had given them courage. When the gavel fell, Sarah didn't feel triumph, just exhaustion, relief, and something else, the faint, fragile beginning of hope. Outside, James waited by his truck. Spring was coming to Montana, melting the last of winter snow. "Ready?" he asked. Sarah looked back at the courthouse one final time, then at James, at Mary waiting in the truck, at the open road leading back to the reservation, to her new home, to a future she was finally free to choose. "Yes," she said, "I'm ready." The storms had passed, and Sarah Morrison, soon to be Sarah again, just Sarah, was finally truly free.